guy that has been in the league for quite a bit now, bouncing around some teams, but stuff is there. It's high 90s on balls, especially against righties. Ability to take the baseball. He's going to be a big part of that.
As you know, have all the pitchers come out of these live BPs?
Yes. So far, positive news. Everybody bouncing back, continue to be on their progression, whether it's a side in between live sessions. So everybody's in a good place.
And you mentioned earlier that the goal was to stretch Tobias Myers out almost as a starter, but can you see him more in the Max Kranick, Jose Budo role, multiple inning guy out of the pen?
Yeah, and you're going to need guys like him, right? Like we said at the beginning of camp, we're going to build him up as a starter. Then hopefully, everybody's healthy, right? There's long ways to go. And then we'll have to make some adjustment. And if we decide to put him in the bullpen, he's definitely going to be a guy that is going to be a multiple inning guy out of the bullpen.
You would just want him to stay stretched out? Obviously mean, like, if everyone's healthy, putting him in the minors, or if he's good to go, you'll have him on this team in some form or fashion?
Yeah, if he's healthy, he's on the team. So.
What have you thought of Craig Kimbrel so far, and the use of his changeup? What could that do for him?
Yeah, look, the first thing is what an awesome guy he is. Man, like, his presence is unreal, and look, it was good to see him out there today. We know that the sweeper's good, the curveball, we all know that. And he also got the cutter now that he's playing around with. So, he threw a little bit of that changeup last year, but I think his bread and butter is, the breaking ball. And like I said, hopefully that cutter now plays into especially lefties. Experience. He's going to get.
Standing out to you about his presence?
Yeah, look, the way he carries himself. Talking about a guy that is pretty close to a Hall of Fame career, right? So with a World Series in he's out there like a rookie, and how respectful he is, how open he is to share experiences. So it's been great to have him there.
What do you want some of your younger prospects, guys like Reimer and Ewing and Morbido, to get out of big league camp?
Yeah, we got a lot of really good players here in camp. The first thing that we told them is, like, you're not too far away from the big leagues. I think what separates a guy at this level is their ability to move on when they face adversity. The mental toughness, the grind at this level. So I think it's just more like picking their brains and ask questions and be themselves. That's the biggest message in here. Like, they need to have fun. They need to learn as much as possible, but also just don't be afraid to ask questions to a lot of the great players that we got here.
Carlos, if you could look back to last spring at this time when Alvarez had been tinkering with his swing, and to see where he is now, between defensive adjustments he had to make mid-season and going back to something more towards his old swing, how do you compare Alvarez today with Alvarez a year ago at this time?
Yeah, last year, he made some drastic changes offensively, and it wasn't easy for him. It was hard, and he struggled. And got to a point where we sent him to the minor leagues, and he kind of have to revamp the whole swing again. And we saw a lot of good signs after we called him up, and that's what we're seeing here now. Shorter, more direct to the ball. We know the power's there. He just got to get the barrel out there, short to the ball. So he's definitely in a good place here. I like where he's at approach-wise, and we just got to keep it that way.
And defensively, do you like?
Defensively, same thing. I feel like he made huge strides last year, and we saw it, especially when the blocking, the receiving, and he's just going to continue to get better, continue to mature, and he's got that leadership ability, when he's able to lead a pitching staff, and that's what we expect out of him.
Was JP instrumental in helping Alvarez along when he went down? And is there something particular that bonds those two that just worked?
Yeah, look, I think it was a group effort there. You know, I know Glenn, who's no longer with us, was in constant communication with JP and Tucker Frawley, who's, you know, our upper level catching coordinator. So I think it was a group effort, and definitely they created that relationship, and you see it in this early going. The buy-in, the feedback. So he's very open. Alvy's very open with JP, and JP is just willing to listen to him, and I think they got a good thing going on.
You touched on a little bit yesterday, Francisco Alvarez being slow to start. What in particular, is it the hand injuries from last year, or is it anything else?
I think it's just the position that he plays, you know. And this is a guy that we're gonna have to pack him up, you know, from doing work. You know, he goes in the cages and takes 200 swings. You know, he wants to be catching live VPs, and you know, maybe it's just more like us being proactive here.
And with Kimbrel specifically, he's had some rough years over the last few. Is there anything he needs to prove to you to perhaps make the major league club?
Yeah, I mean, look, we like what we saw that towards the end of last year, and there's a reason why we brought him in here. What we want to see is just the guy that he's been throughout his career. He's that breaking ball. He's elite. He attacks. He's got that mentality that he knows what it takes to get 3 outs. So he's willing to pitch in any role. So, yeah, he brings a lot of the things that we like and that we look for. Hope to see you guys at the Special Olympics up there.